The Discovery Commander HFY of the Galactic Union pressed his three-fingered hand against the cool metal of his command chair. His ship, the Stellar Judge, had been patrolling the outer rim for months without finding anything interesting. That was about to change. "Commander," his sensor officer called out, her voice shaking with excitement. "We have something on the long-range scanners." It's impossible." HFY's purple skin darkened with curiosity. In his 40 years of service, Officer Kree had never sounded this confused. "What are you seeing, Kree?" "A ship, sir, but not like anything in our databases. The energy readings are off the charts. The design is crude, but the power signature is massive." The bridge fell silent. Every member of the crew knew what this meant. For 300 years, the Galactic Union had been the strongest force in known space. Their technology was perfect, their weapons unstoppable. No species had ever challenged their dominance. "Show me," HFY ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing a grainy image of a dark shape against the stars. The ship was ugly by Union standards, all sharp angles and rough metal. It looked like someone had taken pieces of scrap and welded them together. But the energy readings told a different story. "By the 7 moons," whispered Chief Engineer Vaughn, "look at those power levels." "How is that possible?" HFY studied the readings. The unknown ship was putting out more energy than a Union battlecruiser, but it was half the size. Either their sensors were broken, or they had found something that would change everything. "What's their heading?" he asked. "They're moving toward the Kepler system," Kree replied. "Where our mining colonies are." The commander's blood ran cold. Kepler held over 50 million Union citizens. If this unknown ship was hostile, and if it was really as powerful as the sensors suggested, those colonies were in terrible danger. "Distance to intercept." 6 hours at maximum speed, sir." HFY made his decision quickly. "Signal the fleet. Tell them we need backup. Then set course to intercept. Battle stations." As alarms began to sound throughout the ship, HFY couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. In his long career, he had seen many alien species join the Union. Some came peacefully, others had to be convinced with force. But none had ever shown up with technology that challenged Union superiority. "Sir," Kree called out again, her voice even more worried than before. "I'm picking up more ships, dozens of them, all showing the same impossible energy readings." The commander gripped his chair tighter. This wasn't just one rogue ship, this was a fleet. And they were heading straight for Union space. "How long until they reach our colonies?" he asked, though he dreaded the answer. "At their current speed, 18 hours, sir. 18 hours to figure out who these beings were and what they wanted. 18 hours to prepare for what might be the biggest threat the Union had ever faced." As HFY watched the mysterious ships move across his screen, he wondered if his advanced civilization was about to meet its match. The hunt was about to begin. But the commander had no idea who was really the hunter and who was the prey. First contact, the Stellar Judge dropped out of hyperspace with a flash of blue light. Immediately, every alarm on the bridge started screaming, "Contact!" Kree shouted over the noise. "The unknown ship is right in front of us!" HFY stared at the main screen in shock. The alien vessel was massive, easily twice as long as he had estimated. Its hull was a patchwork of different metals, some parts gleaming silver while others were dark as space itself. Weapon ports dotted its surface like the eyes of some ancient predator. "Are they scanning us?" the commander asked. "Yes, sir. Very intense scans. They're cutting right through our shields like they're not even there." This was impossible. Union shields were the best in the galaxy. They could stop anything. Energy weapons, missiles, even small asteroids. But these strangers were reading their ship as easily as looking through clear glass. "Can we scan them back?" Kree's fingers danced over her controls. "I'm trying, sir, but their hull is blocking most of our sensors." "Wait, I'm getting something." "Sir, you need to see this." The screen changed, showing internal scans of the alien ship. What they saw made everyone on the bridge gasp in surprise. The ship wasn't just carrying weapons, it was packed with them. Every deck, every corridor had some kind of armament. But more shocking than the weapons was who was using them. "Those life forms," Chief Medical Officer Tal whispered. "They're so primitive." The beings on the alien ship walked on two legs, had two arms, and soft-looking skin instead of scales or chitin. They were small compared to most Union species, and they had no natural armor or claws. They looked weak and fragile. How can such primitive creatures build technology this advanced? Vaughn muttered. Before anyone could answer, the communication system crackled to life. A voice spoke in perfect Union standard, the language used by all civilized species. Unknown vessel. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the human warship Defiance. You are conducting unauthorized scans of our ship. State your intentions immediately. Zexai straightened in his chair. The voice was calm but carried an undertone of steel that made his scales tingle with warning. This is Commander Zexai of the Galactic Union ship Stella. Judge, you are entering Union space without permission. By law, we must inspect your vessel. There was a pause before the human responded. Union space? According to our maps, this sector is unclaimed territory. We are conducting a peaceful exploration mission. Your maps are wrong, Captain Chen. This region has been under Union control for over 2 centuries. You will submit to inspection or face the consequences. Another pause, longer this time. When the human spoke again, her voice had changed. It was colder, more dangerous. Commander, I think there's been a misunderstanding. We don't recognize any authority in this region. Our mission continues as planned. I suggest you move aside. Zexai's crest flared with anger. No one had spoken to a Union commander like that in decades. These humans needed to learn their place. Captain Chen, you are outgunned and outnumbered. My ship alone carries enough firepower to destroy a small moon. I'm giving you one last chance to surrender peacefully. The response came immediately, and what the human said next would haunt Zexai for the rest of his life. Commander, I appreciate the warning. But I think you should know. We've been monitoring Union communications for months. We know exactly what your ships can do. The question is, do you know what ours can do? Before Zexai could respond, his sensors officer screamed, "Sir!" Energy spike from the human ship. Massive power buildup. The commander watched in horror as the readings climbed higher and higher, far beyond what any Union weapon could produce. This wasn't possible. These primitive creatures couldn't have weapons that powerful. But as the Defiance began to glow with barely contained energy, Zexai realized that everything the Union thought they knew about technology, about power, about their place in the universe, was about to be proven wrong. The humans weren't just another species to be absorbed into the Union. They were something else entirely. The revelation shields up. All weapons online, Zexai commanded, but his voice cracked with fear he couldn't hide. The human ship's energy readings were climbing beyond anything in Union records. The Defiance now glowed like a small star, its hull radiating power that made their instruments scream warnings. Sir, Cree whispered, their energy output just exceeded our maximum theoretical limits. This is impossible. Captain Chen's voice came over the communication channel again, still calm despite the incredible forces her ship was generating. Commander Zexai, I'm going to share something with you. We humans have a saying, don't start a fight you can't finish. Right now my weapons are charged and ready, but I'd prefer to talk instead of turning your ship into cosmic dust. Zexai's pride warred with his survival instincts. No one threatened a Union commander, but those power readings. Sir, Chief Engineer Vaughn called out urgently, I'm analyzing their energy signature. It's not fusion, not antimatter, not anything we know. This is something completely new. How new? The commander asked, though he dreaded the answer. Their power source is generating energy at 97% efficiency. Sir, our best reactors only reach 38%. A cold silence fell over the bridge. Every officer understood what this meant. The humans weren't just more advanced. They were centuries ahead of Union technology. Captain Chen, Zexai said carefully, perhaps we should discuss this situation calmly. I agree, Commander. But first let me show you something else. The human ship's weapons powered down, but something else began to happen. Sections of the hull started to shift and reconfigure. Within moments, the Defiance had transformed from a warship into something that looked like a mobile research station. Adaptive hull technology, Tal breathed. The ship can change its entire configuration in real time. Captain, Zexhai said, trying to keep his voice steady. "We need to understand. Where did your people acquire such advanced technology?" Chen's reply came with what sounded almost like amusement. "Commander, we didn't acquire it. We built it. Would you like to come aboard and see for yourself?" Every instinct told Zexhai this was a trap, but his curiosity was stronger than his fear. These humans had technology that could revolutionize the entire galaxy. He had to learn more. "Very well. I'll bring a small diplomatic team." "Excellent. Fair warning, though, you might find some things disturbing." 2 hours later, Zexhai and 3 of his officers stood in the transport bay of the human ship. What they saw there challenged everything they thought they knew about advanced civilizations. The corridors were cramped by Union standards, designed for the smaller human frames, but every surface was covered with technology so advanced it seemed almost magical. Control panels responded to thoughts, walls displayed information directly into their minds, and the air itself seemed to carry data. Captain Chen met them personally. She was even smaller than the scans had suggested, barely reaching Zexhai's chest, but her presence filled the room. Her eyes were sharp and intelligent, and when she smiled, the commander got the distinct impression that she was laughing at some private joke. "Welcome aboard the Defiance, Commander. I hope you don't mind the informal tour, but there's something I need to show you right away." She led them through the ship, past laboratories filled with impossible devices and crew quarters where humans worked alongside machines that seemed almost alive. Finally, they reached a massive chamber filled with screens and holographic displays. "This is our strategic center," Chen explained. "For the past 6 months, we've been studying the Galactic Union. Your technology, your military capabilities, your political structure. Everything." The screens showed detailed schematics of Union ships, recordings of Union communications, and strategic analyses that were frighteningly accurate. "You've been spying on us," Zexhai said, his anger rising. "We've been learning about you," Chen corrected, "and what we learned is very interesting. The Union has been the dominant force in this galaxy for 3 centuries. You've absorbed thousands of species, always through superior technology and overwhelming force. But you've never met anyone who could match your capabilities." She gestured to one of the displays, showing a tactical analysis of Union fleet movements. "Until now." Zexhai stared at the screens in growing horror. The humans had identified every Union weakness, catalogued every defensive position, mapped every supply route. "They knew everything. What do you want?" he asked quietly. Captain Chen's smile faded, and for the first time she looked serious. "Commander, humanity has been watching the stars for a very long time. We've seen what happens when powerful civilizations meet weaker ones. Usually the weak ones disappear. We decided long ago that when we went to the stars, we would never be the weak ones." She touched a control, and the screens changed to show human colonies, human fleets, human technology advancing at an incredible pace. "We don't want to conquer the Union, Commander. We want to change it. The age of one species dominating all others is over. It's time for something new." As Zexhai watched the displays showing the true extent of human power, he realized that the Galactic Union was about to face its greatest challenge ever, and they were not prepared for it. The truth unveiled. "You're talking about war," Zexhai said, his voice hollow with the weight of understanding. Captain Chen shook her head. "No, Commander. I'm talking about evolution. The Union's time as the galaxy's sole superpower is ending. The question is whether that transition happens peacefully or violently." She led them to another section of the ship, where the walls themselves seemed to pulse with life. The technology here was so advanced that Zexhai couldn't even begin to understand how it worked. "Let me tell you a story about humanity," Chen said as they walked. "Thousands of years ago, we were just like any other primitive species. We fought among ourselves, destroyed our environment, nearly wiped ourselves out multiple times. But we had one advantage that most species don't." "What was that?" Officer Cree asked, despite herself fascinated by what she was seeing. "We never stopped fighting. Most intelligent species reach a point where they achieve peace and stability. They become comfortable, stop innovating, stop pushing boundaries. Humans never did that. Even when we reached the stars, we kept competing, kept improving, kept pushing each other to be better. They entered a laboratory where humans in white coats worked alongside alien scientists from dozens of different species. Zexhai recognized some of them, former Union citizens who had supposedly died in accidents or disappeared during routine missions. "You've been kidnapping our people," he accused. "We've been rescuing them," Chen replied calmly. "Did you know that 90% of technological innovation in the Union comes from species that were conquered in the last century? Your own people stopped creating new things generations ago. You've been living off the ideas of others for so long that you've forgotten how to truly innovate." One of the alien scientists looked up from his work, a Kitharan engineer who had vanished 3 years ago during a deep space mission. When he saw Zexhai, he smiled sadly. "Commander," the engineer said, "I helped design the shields on your ship. Here, I've just finished work on technology that makes those shields obsolete. Which do you think was more fulfilling?" Zexhai felt his worldview cracking. Everything he had believed about Union superiority, about their rightful place as leaders of the galaxy, was being torn apart piece by piece. "The Union brings order," he said desperately. "Peace, stability. The Union brings stagnation," Chen replied. "When was the last time your people made a breakthrough discovery? When did you last push the boundaries of what was possible? Your civilization has been coasting on past achievements for centuries." She showed them to an observation deck where they could see space through a transparent wall. But what they saw there made them all gasp in shock. The human fleet was massive. Hundreds of ships of designs they had never seen before, each one radiating the same impossible energy signatures as the Defiance. But more shocking were the non-human ships mixed in with them. Vessels from dozens of Union species all flying alongside the human fleet. "How many?" Zexhai whispered. "Enough," Chen replied. "Commander, over the past 50 years, humanity has made contact with over 200 Union species. Not officially, your government would never allow that. But individual ships, colonies on the frontier, research stations in remote systems, they've all been introduced to human technology and human ideas." She gestured to the fleet outside. "What you're seeing is the result. Species that had forgotten how to dream, learning to reach for the impossible again. Civilizations that had accepted their place in the Union hierarchy, discovering they could be so much more." Zexhai's legs felt weak. He slumped against the wall, overwhelmed by the implications. "You're going to destroy everything we've built." "We're going to help you build something better," Chen said gently. "The Union doesn't have to end, Commander. It just has to change. Instead of one species ruling over all the others, imagine a true alliance. Hundreds of species working together, sharing knowledge, pushing each other to achieve things that no one could accomplish alone." Chief Medical Officer Tal stepped forward. "But the chaos, the conflicts, the Union maintains peace through strength. The Union maintains silence through fear," one of the alien scientists called out. "Captain Chen, show them the archive." Chen nodded and led them to yet another chamber. This one contained holographic displays showing the history of every species in the Union, but not the sanitized version taught in Union schools. This was the real history, full of suppressed innovations, forbidden research, and technologies that had been classified and hidden away. Every species that joins the Union is required to surrender their most advanced military technologies, Chen explained. Those technologies are locked away in Union archives, supposedly for the good of galactic peace. But the truth is, your government was afraid that if other species had access to their own most advanced tools, they might challenge Union authority. The displays showed invention after invention, breakthrough after breakthrough, all locked away and forgotten. Weapons that could reshape matter, drives that could cross the galaxy in hours, medical devices that could extend life for millennia, all hidden in Union vaults. "We've been liberating these technologies," Chen continued, "returning them to their creators, helping them advance beyond what they originally achieved. The results speak for themselves." Zexhai watched the displays in growing horror and fascination. The Union had indeed been hoarding the galaxy's greatest achievements, keeping entire civilizations from reaching their potential. "What happens now?" he asked quietly. Captain Chen's expression grew serious. "Now, Commander, you have a choice. You can return to your ship and report what you've seen. Tell the Union leadership that humanity is a threat to be destroyed. That would mean war, a war that would tear the galaxy apart." She paused, letting that sink in. "Or you can help us build something better. The Union has the infrastructure, the experience, the connections to every species in the galaxy. Humanity has the vision and the technology to unlock everyone's potential. Together, we could create something that neither of us could achieve alone." As Zexhai looked out at the massive fleet surrounding them, he realized that the choice wasn't really between war and peace. It was between the end of everything he had ever known and the beginning of something unimaginably greater. The new Dawn Commander Zexhai stood in silence for what felt like hours, watching the human fleet maneuver through space with precision that defied everything he knew about large-scale fleet operations. Ships that should have needed massive support crews were operating with skeleton staffs. Vessels that should have taken years to build appeared to have been constructed in months. "How?" he finally asked. "How did you advance so quickly?" Captain Chen smiled. "Because we never stopped learning, Commander. When the Union was consolidating power and managing conquered territories, humanity was exploring the dark spaces between stars. We found things out there. Ancient ruins, abandoned technologies, entire civilizations that disappeared long before the Union existed." She gestured to the fleet outside. "Some of our ships use technology that's millions of years old, perfected by species whose names are lost to time. We combined their knowledge with human innovation and the insights of every species we've encountered. The result is what you see before you." Officer Cree stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. "The energy efficiency we detected, how is that possible?" "Zero-point energy extraction," replied the Catharan engineer. "The ancient civilization that built the ruins on Kepler 442b had mastered it eons ago. The Union found the same ruins 200 years ago and classified the technology as too dangerous for general use. Humanity helped us unlock it." Zexhai felt another piece of his worldview crumble. "Kepler 442b, that's a restricted system. The Union claimed it was sterile, lifeless." "The Union has been hiding archaeological sites across the galaxy," Chen explained. "Dozens of them. Every time they find technology that might threaten their dominance, it gets locked away. We've been freeing that knowledge, returning it to the galaxy where it belongs." Chief Engineer Vaughn was studying the displays with growing excitement. "The implications are staggering. With technology like this, we could solve energy crises, cure diseases, explore distant galaxies." "Exactly," Chen said. "That's what we're offering, Commander. Not conquest, but liberation. Liberation from the artificial limitations the Union has placed on scientific progress." A communication alert sounded throughout the ship. Chen touched a panel, and the image of another human appeared. A man with gray hair and tired eyes. "Captain, this is Admiral Harrison aboard the New Horizon. We're receiving urgent transmissions from Union High Command. They're mobilizing the entire home fleet." Zexhai's blood ran cold. The home fleet represented the combined military might of the Union's core worlds, over 3,000 of their most advanced ships. "How long until they arrive?" Chen asked. 18 hours, Captain." "They're coming in force," Chen nodded grimly. "Thank you, Admiral. Continue monitoring their communications." She turned back to Zexhai. "Well, Commander, it looks like the Union leadership has made their choice. The question now is, what's yours?" Zexhai looked at his officers. He could see the same conflict in their eyes that he felt in his heart. Everything they had believed, everything they had devoted their lives to, was being challenged. But the evidence was overwhelming. The Union had become exactly what they had always claimed to oppose: a stagnant empire that suppressed innovation and crushed the potential of countless species. "If I help you," Zexhai said slowly, "I'll be committing treason against everything I've sworn to protect." "If you help us," Chen replied, "you'll be saving the galaxy from centuries more of stagnation and oppression. The choice is yours, but time is running short." Alarms began sounding throughout the human ship. A tactical officer called out from across the chamber. Captain, long-range sensors are detecting Union ships dropping out of hyperspace. Advanced scouts. The main fleet isn't far behind. Chen's expression hardened. Battle stations. Signal all ships to assume defensive positions. She turned to Zexhai one last time. Commander, I need to ask you to make your decision now. Will you return to your ship and help coordinate the Union attack? Or will you help us try to end this without bloodshed? Zexhai closed his eyes, weighing everything he had seen and learned. When he opened them again, his decision was clear. Captain Chen, I request permission to contact the Union fleet directly. Granted. Zexhai stepped forward to the communication console. His hands shook slightly as he opened a channel to the approaching Union forces. Union Home Fleet, this is Commander Zexhai aboard the human vessel Defiance. I am speaking as a witness to what I have seen here, what we have believed about human capabilities, about their intentions, about the nature of galactic civilization itself. All of it needs to be reconsidered. The response came from Admiral Thexmore, Zexhai's former mentor and commander of the Home Fleet. Zexhai, you are ordered to return to your ship immediately. The humans have clearly compromised you. Admiral, I am speaking freely and of sound mind. The humans possess technology and knowledge that could benefit every species in the galaxy. They are not invaders seeking conquest. They are offering partnership. Commander, you have 30 seconds to return to your vessel before we consider you a hostile. Zexhai looked at Captain Chen, who nodded encouragingly. Then he spoke the words that would change the course of galactic history. Admiral Thexmore, I formally request that you stand down your fleet and open negotiations with the human delegation. What they have to offer is too important to be settled by warfare. The channel fell silent. Then Admiral Thexmore's voice returned, cold with betrayal and anger. Commander Zexhai, you are hereby relieved of duty and charged with treason. All Union vessels target the human fleet. Fire at will. As the first energy blasts lit up the darkness of space, Zexhai realized that the old galaxy was ending in fire and light. But from that ending would come a new beginning, one where every species could reach for the stars without limits, where knowledge would be shared instead of hoarded, and where the potential of civilization itself could finally be unleashed. The battle that followed would be remembered as the last battle of the old galaxy and the first battle of the new one. And when it was over, nothing would ever be the same again. The age of the Galactic Union was ending. The age of true galactic civilization was about to begin. The end. This story explores themes of technological advancement, the dangers of stagnation in civilization, and the courage required to challenge established order for the greater good. The humans represent not conquerors, but catalysts for change, helping other species unlock their true potential while offering partnership instead of dominance.